Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. No more. Black and white, no more, baby. Love, no more, baby. Just black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white, 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 white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white, 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 white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone, welcome to Simracersworld TV for the season finale of the SRW DYNAMIXX NASCAR Series from Daytona at nighttime. It's all gonna be decided here. My name is Hasse Rømer and I am yet again here with the Jacko himself, Jack Oliphant. Jacko, what's your expectations? We've got 4 contestants for the title coming into this final round, and I think it's gonna be an exciting one indeed.
Well, it's not only going to test the driver's skill level and their nerve, it's going to test our calculation speed as well, Hasse, isn't it? With Sergio Hernandez leading the way with 277 points, Johan Osorio at 252, and drawing with him is Kenzie Neuhoff with 252. Frederick Van Ekhoven, don't count him out either. Just 1 point behind those two in 4th place. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess. It's going to be fantastic. Obviously, there's drop rounds to try and compete with as well. Sergio Hernandez has probably got the worst drop round, so if he has a pretty poor result here, he'll probably end up carrying the points. And to be honest, it's all so tight. There's no way we can set it up like as and when. We're going to have to just keep coming back to it about every halfway through the race and towards the end of it as well.
Yeah, indeed, very much so. It's something we're going to stay updated on throughout the race. And a warm welcome to everyone tuning in with us tonight here from Daytona. And Hasse has provisionally on pole position. We're trying to keep an eye on qualifying. It usually happens just as we're coming in and warming up and welcoming in, sort of settling in ourselves, Jacko. But this time around, we're going to stay focused here. Of course, Jacko, Daytona, one of those tracks where speeds are so great and such that it's sometimes hard moving up through the pack. There isn't a whole lot of lifting here, and as such, qualifying here can be a little bit more important actually than at certain other speedways.
Well, yeah, when we get into the actual race at Daytona, we saw it earlier in the season, it genuinely looks like we're all just under pace car conditions, yet we're doing 200 kilometers an hour, aren't we? It's madness, really, how quick these guys go and how close they go as well. And not only that, there's the Week 13 additions, the updates that have been put into NASCAR, and we've heard from Brand van Uytven and Ian Roots that it's changed a lot of the dynamics of these cars, and they haven't had long to learn it all. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it differs from maybe the earlier Daytona round we had. It's not just going to be the night that's going to be different, it's going to be the driving styles as well, maybe the strategies and potentially more cautions as well to spice things up with. Normally, if you're at the front of the field, like Sergio Hernandez, who's on your screen right now, well, then you can probably guarantee, well, not quite guarantee, but you can probably put your money on the fact that they may, well, keep it clean and keep their noses clean and not end up with any crashes. However, somebody might be caught out. Somebody might be caught out right in the wrong spot, and that will take out some big contenders.
And that's always the problem when you're trying to really get yourself in a safe spot to maybe just get that result you're looking for, like Hernandez would be tonight, that it's so easy just to get yourself wound up in something in the midfield, which is where, let's be honest, all of the, or not all of the close fighting, but a lot of the very close and very chaotic fighting often happens. And it's a thing to stay clear of. So there isn't really a safe approach to a race like this. There is only really pedal to the metal, flat out, and try to go as quickly as possible to keep yourself at the front. And in that case, or in that sense, it reminds me of the northern classics of cycling. It's been a very long time since I've made cycling references. We've been in the off season. I know there's been cross, there's been track events and stuff. But Jacko, road cycling season is back and I'm enjoying it. And I'll shut up about it now because we've got the grid ready to display qualifying's over. And let me get straight to it indeed. There you have it. Tim Perry on pole position for Boosted Motorsports. He's been good in qualifying before. And he is so again. Johan Osorio there second for Ramon's Oval Spain, rising to the challenge with something very, very close to the exact replica of Tim Perry's lap. Sergio Hernandez third, with Kim Behade fourth, Ari Seijas fifth, and Fernando Lopez Vinales, in sixth place, ahead of Bart de Vos, Kurt van Honacker, Bud Boland, Hendrik de Grave, Toby Ward, and Ryan D. Walker in 12th place. Further down is Kenzie Neuhoff, Philip Russell, Adam Wright, and Manolo Rock, Yves Fredericks, and Sven Calvert, ahead of Frederick Van Ekhoven in 19th place, and Lucas de Belder in 20th. Then Bram van Uyften is 21st ahead of Jan Tusting, Steven de Wolf, and Jurgen van der Perre. And that's the Bell Speed NASCAR machine, the mystery machine that we're very happy to see back as a part of proceedings. Stuart Musselwhite is 25th for Simracersworld Esports ahead of John Barnes, Paul Gosling, Thijs van den Bergen, Lieven op de Beek. Rounding off the field, or so I believe, is Maddie Sufi in 30th place for the 64.
Yeah, and it's not only time for the grid, it's also time for a quick prayer, I'd say, as well. The final prayer of the season, to be honest, Hasse, we're not back till October, realistically. I mean, there may be one or two little events here and there that we can speak about during the race, hosted by SRW, but realistically, this is the final NASCAR race until well into the end of 2021, which makes me a bit emotional, really. It's one of the few consistent sort of jobs that I have on SRW, that and the Sunday drivers, and I always look forward to it on a Monday night, something a bit different.
Yeah, indeed, and a prayer we shall have. Lord above, thank you for this season of racing we've had, of the overtakes, of the undertakes, of the incidents, of the tears and the joy, the excitement, the heartbreak, and the disappointment that's been here as well. And our hands are folded in unity for another good one, for a final round off of the season here at Daytona. And we'll be thankful that we will be returning for another season come something about October indeed. As a collective, thank you, and thank you all for watching along with us throughout the season and being with us tonight as well. And with that, Amen, we'll get the race started very shortly indeed with Tim Perry and Johan Osorio. Perry, a very swift qualifier often here, Jacko. Osorio, not someone we've really seen that often on the front row. Sergio Hernandez and then Kim Behait often up there as well. It's been a little bit of a mix-up. Names like Kenzie Newhoff and Frederick van Eekhoven, indeed, whom we've often seen. Oh, what's going on down there? Someone has gone to the infield and is coming back after doing the... That's Kenzie Newhoff having done the Roval chicane there on the back straight. I think that's caught a few drivers out. Certainly caught me out as well here as we're getting closer to the start indeed. And by the way, of course, to Penton, Kevin Casim, LS Racing, Thomas Smits, and Alberio, it's nice to have you all along for the start of this race, the early joiners. And as the pace car swings off to the left, it's time to get it all going here as we're green at Daytona. Tim Perry takes an early lead and takes an early start there. Gets a very good run. Osorio's kind of left to dry there on the outside, and Sergio Hernandez is wasting no time moving up through. Further down, it all seems very orderly. A nice, clean, two-wide run through turn one here for most of the field. But already as well, gaps appearing here, Jacko.
There is, yeah, which is slightly uncharacteristic for a Daytona race. I expected them to be filing up 2 by 2, and in fact, there's 3 wide towards the front of the field. But even at the back, yeah, look at this. I think maybe these guys are trying to avoid potential carnage, but I'll be surprised. And as we were saying, the aerodynamics have heavily changed, and to be honest, I think it's putting people off going by 2 by 2. I think they're not entirely sure how they're going to react to each other's cars at this rate, but very much looking forward to it. I do have the points and numbers and scores and everything on my right hand side on a piece of paper, so we're going to try and keep up to date with how it's all going to go along. But basically, I think if Hernandez has a fairly solid finish in the top 5, then expect him to be the champion. If he all of a sudden is outside the top 5, then we have some calculating to do, Hasse. But you're right, that at the moment, they're spread out quite nicely, and maybe this is showing maybe what the Week 13 updates have given us, 310 kilometers an hour, and they seem quite happy in each other's draft at the moment.
Very much so. It's been a cautious start to the race, which I think most of the drivers in the field here will indeed appreciate. And I think we'll see such an approach to this race, given that there's a lot on the line for a lot of these drivers in terms of championship standings, and that uncertainty that comes with a fresh physics update as Hendrik de Graaf is having to fend off. Let's Ryan Walker on the outside in the 555, and I'm just wondering if we're seeing that side draft. Some of the talk of the town has been that it's now, when you get side by side with someone, that side draft is going to impede the car that'll be overtaken, which is usually going to be the car on the inside, and that tends to slow it down ever so slightly, but we haven't really seen it here, at least not in this very situation. Now mind you, this is a fixed setup series, setups provided by the organizers, and I think that's provided us with some excellent racing as well, allowing the cream really to rise to the top and for us to see some proper good stuff. And I think, Jacko, that for all it's worth, this is probably the most well, the least spectacular race start that we've seen this season, and that's not necessarily meant as a bad thing here.
I'm amazed, to be honest. Yeah, I thought everybody was getting a little bit hot and heavy under the collar and maybe trying to launch themselves, be a hero, but I think everybody seems to know what this is about now. They know, especially the top four in the championship, which, remind us, Hernandez, Osorio, Kenzie Neuhoff, and Frederick Van Ekhoven. You know, the drivers around them as well, they want a race win. I bet Hernandez doesn't really care about getting the overall race win, just wants the championship. So the likes of Tim Perry and Boosted Motorsport is probably quite happy to be at first. He doesn't want to throw anything away. Kim Behate's probably a similar story. And to be honest, as I was saying, the super speedways normally offer fantastically close racing for a consistent amount of time, and we just haven't seen that for whatever reason. Maybe someone, Anton Japan, maybe in the chat, can let us know what the cars are like to drive. Maybe the Flemish guys are giving some feedback. Let us know, because it'd be really awesome to hear. But you're right, it is not that spectacular in terms of crashes, but to be honest, like you said, Hasse, I actually prefer that. It means we can bed ourselves in. We can get ready for what is the next 80 laps, or now the next 74 laps. Because the ticket was 6 laps to go. Remember, there's 80 in total, an hour and 35, whichever comes first. It's a 45-second lap, so we should comfortably get the laps all done and dusted without having to resort to the timing tower. The overall time. But, you know, fingers crossed. It never normally goes too well for too long in this series. I remember Charlotte last week, Hasse, in another one of the night races. It went spectacularly for about, I don't know, 90 laps, and then all of a sudden the last 10 laps, we had about 4 caution periods, so they can sneak up on you.
Very much so, they really can, and it's something that's it can, you know, throw people in the wings all of a sudden, but should we stay like this? Just want to follow up on Anton Dupon's comment in chat here. Should we stay like this? It's very much like one of those situations, Anton. We have a very early split in the race, and a lot of those drivers that has been left behind here will certainly be hoping for some kind of caution periods, of course not involving themselves, but they want some kind of opportunity to get back on level terms with the bunch up ahead. It's very, very difficult to catch up, near on impossible maybe even, especially if you're stuck in the middle of a bunch like this. Kenzie Neuhoff 12th place. Look at the down under cars all together here, trying to maybe assist one another and doing exactly what I said before. And if anyone can do that, just like in cycling as well, it should be a team effort with the bump drafting and just that little bit of extra pace that the working together can gain you. As you see the bump drafting in effect here from the down under cars, trying to get that little bit extra pace. I think the Flemish car was actually helping along as well, and they're trying to close that gap up. Meanwhile, at the head of affairs, still Tim Perry, still Sergio Hernandez, Kim Behate, Johan Osorio now down into 4th place, and then Arise has Bart DeVos and Bart Boland still a part of this bunch as well. Kurt van Honager, Lopez Vinales, and Toby Ward. I think this is the top 10 runners at the moment here, Jacob.
Yeah, I think just reading some of the notes that Bram sent us before, you know, in terms of the the updated physics and all that sort of thing. And to be honest, although the team down undercars are running as a 3, they're running or in the wrong fight, really. They're fighting for top 10 position or top 12 positions, and they need to be in this one. That is Toby Ward has got a great view of, and apparently there's a bubble between the cars of clean air, basically, of zero air, no drag. And it's quite hard to break that now, so they've increased the sort of severity as soon as you come out of the width of the car ahead, basically, out of the bubble, as they call it. It basically restricts you an awful lot more. So if anything, they've increased the gratitude of being in the tow. So it's going to be a very difficult scenario if you have been left behind to catch right back up. And the likes of Toby Ward, you can see them starting to go 2 by 2 now, but as soon as that happened, the yellow car comes out and there's a big crash just ahead of Toby Ward. And I was just about to explain why I can't actually see which car it was. It's Kurt Van Honecker. As soon as he came out, there was a big gap, and the car had the overspeed. And look, the Ramones car just tries to get back in. I think Kurt probably came out of that slipstream, saw that it was he hampered massively. The car behind tries to drive up the inside because he's got the overspeed all of a sudden, and Kurt ends up coming back across and spinning off. And I'm not sure who that was in the 67 Ramones machine.
That's
Fernando Lopez Vinales, that's who it was.
Yeah, I think it's Van Honacker ever so slightly coming down upon Vinales, you can see the 67 car follows the yellow line, and Van Honacker goes on a bit of a spinner here. However, it's not brought out the caution flags. It's only one car involved, no contact for real at least. You see that small contact there, of course. What I meant was no contact with the Armco on the inside, and it's all happening underneath the yellow line, underneath the apron as well. So in that sense, we are safe and still green, of course. That's just the bad luck of the fast daddy of KV Racing, Kurt Van Honacker, and I was about to say 007, it's not, it's just the 07 car. But it's nevertheless a poor situation. And you see there's been a bit of a further split at the front of affairs here. As you can see, Toby Ward, Lopez Vinales has been caught out. And they've been dropped by the front runners. And Adam Wright and the Down Under train is beginning to catch back up. And you just might sit here wondering if they're able to actually claw back the gap back to the front-running bunch there.
Well, this is, you were talking about cycling before. This is exactly what you see in cycling, isn't it? And you'll know a lot better than me about that, Hasse. But they've already caught back up to the likes of Vinales and Toby Ward. And to be honest, they've got the overspeed. And there's another hit, and Philip Russell goes round. And I wasn't sure who the Philip Russell made contact with. Was it Manolo Rock? Potentially.
It was.
But he's getting passed by everyone.
It was indeed Manolo Rock, and yellow flags are out there as the contact. We'll just see if we can get a better view on the situation. I think there.
It's Hendrik de Graaf, actually.
It's Hendrik de Graaf, indeed, who gets the touch on Philip Russell, and then Manolo Rock, the unlucky bystander, wrong place, wrong time, gets caught up in it. And I think that's about it. But of course, 2 cars caught up in an incident like this, and caution is what we're gonna have. First caution period of the race. There we have the touch yet again, this time from another angle. Oh, Manolo Rock
got away with it slightly though, didn't he? I mean, there's not much that damage on the front of that Chevy. There could be damage that he obviously is not showing us necessarily, but I think he slightly got away with that. He managed to carry on, and he may have lost a couple of places, but not too many. So we are under caution period, like you said, Hasse. And I'm just thinking back to that Van Honecker incident, and I think that was the first sort of showing of how much you want to be in the slipstream of a car, isn't it? He dived back out of the train, basically, to see if he can go too wide, see if he can follow the car ahead potentially. A little bit of an experiment. And all of a sudden, he just hits this wall of air, and it just drags him back. And it's almost like if you were swimming and you had water all around you, and you get pushed by a jet, and all of a sudden you tried to touch the stationary water, that would drag you right back. And that's essentially what the like coming out of the draft is. It's you just get caught in it, as we watch Hendrik de Graaf just come into the back of the Fordzilla machine, and a little bit of overspeed. I'm not sure, maybe you didn't expect Russell to come off the throttle, but there's a whole host of drivers now coming into the pits.
Yeah, indeed. So who is staying out? The Down Under drivers and de Graaf as well. And you know what? I don't think that is a bad call, to be honest. Not really knowing if you would need to fuel for a race like this, but in terms of tire wear, I don't think it's too bad. Of course, track temp 19 degrees last time we had a look, at least. This will leave Adam Wright in the lead of the race, ahead of Kenzie Newhoff and Frederick van Ekhoven. Somebody jinxed it there, Thomas, in chat, mentioning that all three cars of Team Down Under a little further back. Now they are there, 1, 2, 3 indeed. Adam Wright is trying to Patrick Swayze the Pigs car with great success, it has to be said. Of course, he'll be fearing any reprisals of the iRacing steward should he continue to overtake the pace car. I'm not sure that's actually allowed, to be honest. Anyway, a warm word of many thanks to our sponsor, that is, of course, DYNAMIXX Simulators. And as always, there is a link to their webpage in the description below, which we do encourage you to hop in and check out. And with that said, even though we've been at Daytona before, Jacko, caution period's on, and the laps are relatively long here. I think we have time for some artifacts here.
Yeah, I mean, you've caught me out slightly, but I'll try and muster up something, I'm sure. So if anybody remembers Daytona and remembers the Oliphant from before, well, just momentarily forget them. Apparently, well, we call Silverstone the home of British motorsport. Daytona, they're a little bit bigger than that. They say it's the world centre of racing. So, make that as you will. Apparently, they wanted to make anybody who knows Daytona or knows of it a little bit will know that it was a beach circuit first. And Mr. Bill Francis, he had a dream to create a more stable and permanent feature than just the beach circuit that they had before. And obviously, Mr. Bill France was actually the person who was in charge of the NASCAR as well when it sort of gleamed into life back then as well. So it's now created a venue that caters for 100,000 fans. It was a quick little ollie fact because the pace car is about to come in, Hasse.
Yeah, indeed. And such, the first caution period of this race is about to end, and we are about to go back to green. And that is at the end of lap 15. We've got 80 laps of running to do here at Daytona. So at this...
Knowing that he is the only one of the Team Down Under cars that isn't actually the championship fight. And you can see, although we had information saying that the outside potentially slowed the inside draft up, it's not quite showing its face here. And in fact, actually, Kenzie Newhoff has been absolutely locked out, hasn't he? It's just the two Team Down Under cars now who have led the way ahead of Tim Perry, one of which is Adam Wright, the leading the way of everybody. Just behind him, Frederick van Ekhoven. Tim Perry, our pole sitter, is in second place with Kimber Haight in fourth. Sergio Hernandez dropped behind Kimber Haight, and the pace car is back out.
That was muted as well. We had a bit of a stream issue before, and I'm trying to see if I can, but I can't really seem to figure anything out immediately. I'll be working on it. We caution breeding caution yet again here, and it's been an early incident, and we're just gonna catch up upon it. Bud Boland was involved with it. We'll go back to the start of it as best as we can. The mystery machine as well, and it's a big one indeed.
It is, yeah, quite a few drivers involved with that. I mean, these guys do have fast repairs, but you are hoping to keep that fast repair for as long as possible, aren't you? Go for the long game just in case something happens in the final 10 minutes. And Bud Boland, he's been beaten up over this series, over this season. I think he'd be one of the first to claim that as well. And to be honest, we're hoping at the back end of this season he'll maybe have a little bit better luck because, as I said, he just seems to be every single race beaten into a pulp, and he's not exactly slow is Bod, and he's an extremely quick hand when it comes to GT3 cars, but it just seems that NASCAR hasn't quite agreed with them. You never know, we'll see him, potentially see him in one of our events coming up, either the Charlotte 600, which isn't this Sunday, but the Sunday afterwards, I believe. No, it is this Sunday. Or the Daytona 500, which is in a couple of weeks' time, I believe, a couple of months' time, actually. I think there's a little bit of a gap between the two. But with any luck, Bod is pretty much always around the SRW leagues and special events, hence why he races for the team, and hopefully we'll have a better look then.
Yeah, just another look at the incident from before, trying to get a little wiser on just what happens, but it's one of those seem to be very chaotic and difficult just to see what happened in that situation. Also, my internet connection seems to be the culprit. Rarely so does it happen, and yet it's happened more than once, at least in a week's time, which is a little frustrating. There it dips down again, and I just have to say I'm a little perplexed to just why this is happening. You'll have me excused, and I'll be trying to figure out if there's something running. It's not on my PC, so I have to wonder if it's a internet service provider thing or whatever. Yeah. So with that said, things are looking like it's stabilized again, and I'm hoping that the race is gonna stabilize as well, because Jacko, for the first 15 laps, it looked really good out there.
It did, yeah, and it was actually looking like we were commenting, weren't we, about how much of a clean start it was, and now we are just have a very quick look for you. 19 laps in, we're about to go onto the white flag of the yellow flag caution period. So the lights will go out as soon as they round out the start-finish line. We'll start lap 20. As I say that, yeah, there we go. The lights have gone off now. So this is going to be racing straight after this. And, well, like you said, Hasse, I think, if anything, we're hoping for a cleaner start. But really noticeable. I mean, have a look. The two team down undercars lead the way. That's not surprising. They were there at the end of the first caution period. However, one driver that was there at the first caution period that has dropped right back is Kenzie Newhoff. He's now in 8th place, and just look, you can see visually how far back he was. That was purely because he was on the outside line that Frederik van Ekhoven now is holding. And the draft was so much, he just got pushed right back. I don't know what happened, but that outside line just completely slowed up. Didn't help him at all.
Yeah, indeed. That's true. Anyway, I think my internet issues, my season finale, it's trademark internet issues should be fixed by now.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. Knock on wood and spit over the right shoulder and all that superstitious stuff. And with that said, Jacko, we're coming back to racing here. And let's see just how early the down undercars are going to go here. There's one missing. And that's a little bit of a surprise to me, but we'll just have to see what that ends up meaning. You can see Kenzie Newhoff down in 8th place indeed. They'll be on team radio. They'll be trying to take advantage of that fact probably and see if they can get a good start all together. And with that said, the pace car is going to peel off in just about a moment's time. And maybe that was a little
Kenzie
more...
Newhoff, look, I thought he was about to go then, but he slowed everyone right up, then went a little bit, and now he's stopped again. And look at this, Frederik van Ekhoven is keeping everybody back, and the team down under know how to do race starts, and that's why Kenzie Newhoff, Frederik van Ekhoven tucks onto the inside of Adam Wright. They don't want to make the same mistake that Kenzie did, as ended them all halfway down the top 10. So Frederik van Ekhoven caught everybody up. Adam Wright just gave a little bit of a spurt of the throttle to get away from Tim Perry, so Frederik can blend in behind him so they can keep a team down under 1-2. Fantastically smart team driving there by the two of them.
Very much so, and a good start as well for Hernandez Behate et al. It's been a swift start indeed, and all the bunched up, you can say once again here. That's going to be a chance for a lot of drivers to improve upon their current positions. Let's see if we can a little bit of a wider view of proceedings, because everybody's so close to one another. We'll need this big zoomed out shot to be able to really see what's going on here. Adam Wright still leading Frederik van Ekhoven, Tim Perry, and then championship leader and defending champion Sergio Hernandez for Lucky Dogs racing. Oh, and I think that's Osorio in 11th place, just hanging on to the back of that front group. And there's a bit of a split yet again as Manolo Rock has lost a little bit of time here, and someone, I'm afraid, is losing more positions. That's Kurt van Honacker.
Yeah, Kurt being caught up again. And I was actually about to bring up a Johan Osorio, because if anybody remembers, he started in 2nd place. Now he's all the way down to 11th, and if you're wondering, well, how on earth did that happen? Did we miss something? Or maybe you thought that Kenzie Newhoff made a mistake in the reason why he went from 2nd to 8th. Well, no, because Johan Osorio had exactly the same thing happen. He started the race in 2nd place on that upper line, and the drag just dropped him right back. So the information that we had that if you're on the outside line, it slows the inside car with the side draft. I think it's the other way around, Hasse. I think you really struggle if you're on the outside line, hence why everybody is trying to stick as close to the apron as possible.
Yeah, indeed, it does seem to be the reason why everyone is just staying low for the time being. But there is indeed a split to the next. Well, I was about to say pack of cars. There's Manolo Rock more or less on his own, and then this chasing bunch, you could say. The Quantum cars on the rear end of this one, and then another 2 seconds before the next chasing bunch, which is the rest of the pack. So it's all separated yet again into 3, and they're going too wide at the end of this one though, and attempts are being made to cover ground. But I have to agree with you, Jacko. It seems it's a futile effort to go on the outside and try to carry that overspeed on the higher banking series. Toby Ward is finding it a little bit slippery as well. He's trying to go up, he's trying to go around, but I think it's not really going to work out too well for him, is it?
No, as I said, it's that same sort of principle. If anybody's wondering how this bubble really works, as I said, if you're sort of driving through a sea and you've got water either side of you sort of thing, you stick your hand out the window and you basically touch the water, your hand's going to get dragged back and out the window, it's probably going to get ripped off. And that's exactly the sort of sensation we have here. It's clear running as soon as you're in that bubble. As soon as you come out, you're like driving through caramel. Yeah, it just really slows the car up, which is why you see Toby Ward, who had good pace, all of a sudden goes to the outside. Oh, this could be big. This could be big. To number 18, Stuart Musselwhite. Did he hold on to it? He did. Fantastic car control, because I thought that was going to be a massive incident in the lead pack.
So Ward, Musselwhite, someone checks. Oh, and there's a little bit of a check. Oh, that's huge. Stuart Musselwhite. How does he keep that? That's incredible. Look at this. Gets the touch.
It's a bump with Vinales.
Yeah, he gets a touch on Vinales, then he gets another touch, I think, from Ward, goes sideways. That was quite the impact up ahead, and somehow he manages to keep it under control, but he's going to be severely off pace due to the hit that he's taken front and rear, and I'm afraid it's going to be a pit stop for Stuart Musselwhite sooner rather than later here. And I'm afraid that could be in terms of getting his cooler, his radiator fixed as well, because it's going to be, surely that engine will be overheating within not too long indeed. Lap 26 is upon us. Still Adam Wright, Freddie Van Ekhoven, Tim Perry, and Sergio Hernandez within a, well, closely confined piece of space there. Hendrik de Grave was about to say it is not. It is, of course, Kim Behate in the 86, my apologies, and Ari Sejas in behind for Ramones, top of the Ramones Oval Spain drivers at the moment. They've got Vinales and Osorio also a part of this bunch. Toby Ward is the last man of the top 11 who's still in with a contention. Well, that said, of course, only in the case that we don't get another caution period, and in the case that, well, strategy doesn't get anything to say in the equation. And it's...
Well, the gap, I mean, Anton Japan's actually, sorry, Hasse, for cutting you off there. Anton Japan's just come in with a good point. The gap between Bod Boland and Johan Osorio is about 6 seconds, and if they keep growing the gap at this rate, it's going to be, they're going to be lapping them. It's ridiculous. The gap that we're seeing, it's a gap that we haven't seen at all in any of the NASCAR events that we've been covering in this season and a half. that was the first season, and it's astounding, to be honest. And I think, although we were saying about Adam Wright and Frederick Van Etkoven and Kenty Newhoff jumping all the way to the front to basically ignoring everybody coming into the pits at that first caution period, we were saying, oh, their tyre's going to be ruined, their tyre's going to be ruined. I think it's that hard to overtake now at this track with these physics. That actually, the tyre difference that the team down under guys have compared to the likes of Tim Perry and Sergio Hernandez, as soon as Hernandez or Perry comes out the draft, the tyres become negligible because they just lose so much speed. So all of a sudden, Adam Wright, his track position is everything.
It's actually very true indeed, and we've seen it. We've seen it happening. A few drivers that has lost position early in the races found it very, very difficult to gain back that time as well. And that gap between first and second group at the moment has grown, and has grown by quite a lot. It's up to 8.5 seconds. Further down, the gaps are not quite that big, it seems, and I think actually there's been sort of a merging of two groups to form one large pack for the midfield. A few drivers hanging on for dear life at the back of it. Oh, no overtaking going to happen here. Toby Ward insisting on the outside. He's trying to bring it through. And I think this time might just be working for him. Is that Matty Sufi, who started at the very, very back of the grid? He's in 8th place now. That is an excellent drive by Matty Sufi.
Apologies, had that on mute, but you're right, it is a really good drive. And look at this, Toby Ward's trying to get up around the outside of it. Now keep an eye on this, because it's going to tell us a lot. And Tim Perry, obviously. How successful is that going to be? He's already being overtaken. Look at that, Tim Perry's just dropped. He's been dropped by everybody. Kenzie Newhoff is going to have him. If nobody lets him back in, it's like driving in the centre of London at the moment. Nobody's going to let you back in because everybody wants to just overtake you, get past and be gone. Look at that, Tim Perry. Whole position he was, remember? Now he's at the back of this 12-car pack.
Let's just have another look at what happened here. So Perry got left on the outside. He's without any sort of slipstream then all of a sudden. And that means that he's not able to keep the speed up that everybody else is doing. Mind you, that the inside line is, of course, the shorter line as well. As you can see, he's just dropping down through this pack. And that is rough indeed.
It means you can't overtake. That's what it means. And I don't know if iRacing have just whacked that up on purpose because it's more realistic. I'm not well versed in NASCAR racing in real life. Do let me know if that is a little bit more realistic, but it just seems a little excessive for me. As I said, it does mean that in these super speedways, if you go to Charlotte or Pocono or smaller tracks like that, then maybe, you know, it doesn't mean that much because obviously in some of those tracks you even have to brake. But at Daytona, it's flat out the entire way, so it's going to be a big disadvantage. Whereas I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Daytona Daytona and Talladega earlier in the season, we were seeing two by two for the entire race, Hasse.
Yeah, we were indeed. We were. It was something quite different to this. It does seem like it's a little less lively than what we've seen before, and if this is going to be the way forward, a little less entertaining, I'm afraid, as well. This seems to be very tactical, but of course, once we get into those final 10 laps or so of the race, 10-15 laps maybe here at Daytona, we could see it all coming alive. We could see it all kicking off as well. Mind you, there's still strategy to come into this. But yes, indeed, we haven't really seen the big fireworks that we'd expect, racing-wise at least, usually at a track here as Daytona. And that would go for every one of the other super speedways as well on the NASCAR calendar. So, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of moves can be made when we get to the pointy end of affairs, if any. And I think I'll leave my verdict till the end of it. I will have an opinion, that's for sure, but I'm not sure I'm ready to really have formed an opinion yet on it because we've so much yet to see. We're not even halfway of the distance through this race, this first race that we're covering with this new physics model, if I could just get that out and off the tunnel. But indeed, it's not looking too promising. There's a double too wide going on, and you can see those drivers on the outside. They are just losing out. They can stay out there, but they can't really pass, can they?
No, they're stuck, and they can't be let back in. Sorry, they're not being let back in by the Ramones machines. So, as I said, Toby Ward and Tim Perry, the two boosted motorsport cars, are stuck fighting with the Ramones. And in fact, Toby Ward, there we go, he sees a gap between the Ramones and he fixes himself in there. But Tim Perry's still hooked on the outside. Wouldn't be surprised if the next gap he sees is actually behind Johan Osorio. To try and just get back onto the same pace that everybody else is. Look at that. It's a tiny, tiny gap opening out between Ali Seyhaz and Kenzie Newhoff, and that will not be music to Kenzie's ears because he desperately needs to try and finish ahead of Sergio Hernandez, one driver that is probably not even given a care in the world. In fact, he's probably thanking the fact that you can't overtake. Is Sergio Hernandez, and it's because he's in 13th, he's in third place, sorry. Championship lead. It'll be good points scored. It won't be having to make a drop round or anything like that, and he will win the championship if it stays like this. The only way that he's not going to win the championship at the moment is if he ends up in a bit of an incident. Maybe he gets a little bit hot-headed, tries to do a pass, ends up falling back to 12th. Maybe someone else causes an incident ahead of him because he's going so quickly. They catch the back markers. It's all that is still to play for, don't get me wrong, but right now Sergio Hernandez is in a very good situation.
Indeed, and you just expect him to keep a cool head because he's been so good at doing so for the well, every other race pretty much this season, and he just seems to have that little bit extra, always a little bit extra to give with and to give off as well, and he's so strong indeed. Third place will be more than enough for him to grab a second consecutive title from this series. So interesting it will be indeed. Just touching upon the whole connection issue thing from before, I think that has indeed stabilized a little bit, which is indeed nice to see here. Matti Sufi joining the outside runners. The thing is, I think if they start a real line there on the outside, they might find the advantage or the disadvantage disappearing as well, and it might become a much more level game indeed. And the issue then might be if they start slowing one another down by just going too wide as you would in the road race. And if so that's the case, it's not going to be what they want to do for sure, because that's going to end up being such a problem indeed. Oh, the Flemish car of Kim Behait and Matti Sufi, they're almost making contact with one another. I think Behait wanted to come down and out of the slipstream or come up, so to say, and cool his engine or whatever, but that almost went into a very sketchy moment indeed, Checo.
Yeah, they're going three wide at the back of this. Oh, the teams. Oh, they're going into the pits. Two team down undercars. Oh, three team down undercars going into the pits. I thought they hit each other. That's why I reacted so much. But they're going into the pits now. Now, where do they come back out? Have they decided that they can't run on fuel? Apparently, Anton Tapan's come in and said on the chat that apparently you can do 100 laps flat out on one set of tyres and it will still be flat out around this entire circuit. There's no lifting or anything like that. So those guys have come in purely for fuel. That'll hurt them quite badly. They're all the way down to 24th, 25th and 26th. And obviously, if they keep green flag running, then maybe they'll get an opportunity. I don't know. It's hard. I think it'll come back to them eventually because these guys will have to refuel. But I'm sure they'll be a little bit good that they didn't get into the caution period.
That's a good point, but I'm just wondering just how long they can do on fuel. And if that early stop would allow everybody else to go to the line with the tires they have and the fuel they have. And if so, the down under cars are indeed the big losers on strategy. But we'll have to see how it plays out. I think they have managed to stay on the lead lap, but that's only just. Look at this, Van Ekhoven. And where is the car behind? Where is Sergio Hernandez? He's right down there, so they are still on the lead lap, which is indeed very important. And they have to stay there. They have to do everything they can to stay on the lead lap. With those three cars pitting in, a lot of cars having now left the lead bunch, you can say. And it's ever shrinking in size. I think more or less down to 6 guys here, 6 drivers, because Matti Sufi is ever so slightly falling off the pace here, I'm afraid, as well. and it's certainly different from what we've had earlier in this season in terms of just how the racing plays out.
Yeah, just going back to Van Ekhoven there, I think Adam Wright, Kenzie Newhoff, all three of the team down on the cars are going to be caught purely because they're not close enough together to really form a tight enough bubble, and the rest of the cars have just got enough overspeed to be catching them up. And we saw it before when two cars maybe were in no man's land. They just didn't have the pace to not be caught by the pack catching them. So we'll see what happens. But you're right, Hasse, it's very different to what we've been seeing. And I suppose now, since we've had an extended amount of green flag running as well, the caution periods can probably obviously spice things up a bit. We're just over halfway, in fact, as well. We're making some really good time for once. As Tim Perry, who did come into the pits, I was going to shout that out earlier, he comes into the pits and he's now about to be lapped by Sergio Hernandez, Kimber Hayton, and Adi Sayas. And remember, Tim Perry was on pole position and he was running in this lead pack until he had to pit in under green flag conditions. And there you go, Tim Perry becomes the next driver to be lapped by the leading 6 cars. And that shows you how big of a difference it's going to be. Adi Sayas is going to have Lucas De Velde is going to have a similar experience, unfortunately, in about 30 seconds time, I believe, and not even that actually, about 10 seconds time, wasn't it? And he goes straight through. He has to let him pass with blue flags. So yeah, very different. And I suppose, like I was saying, we're over halfway and everything now. Hasse, what's your opinion? It almost turns into a bit more of a podcast style commentary, doesn't it? With the fact that we haven't got as much overtaking to be talking about. What's your opinions on Season 3? Any rule changes you go about doing? Or would you keep, the main one I'm probably looking for a conversation about is, would you keep the fixed setup or would you run it as an open setup so these drivers can start making their changes and maybe bringing the another strategy into the mix?
No, Jacko, I think I'd keep the fixed setup. Main reason being that it keeps the series much more accessible to many of the drivers. You don't have to spend time fiddling around with the setup. It just is as it is, and you'll have to just work with that setup, get your practice in on it, and just get the best out of it. I think that makes it a little bit easier to come about and to get involved with the series for drivers that aren't maybe well, in terms of course, of experience, it gives an aiding hand to those a little less experienced, but it also gives an aiding hand to those that aren't maybe with as much time as other drivers, because it does take a lot of time to go through testing and, you know, getting the setup to work track by track and to, you know, get everything dialed in. So I think it's something that I would keep, but we'll see. It's all up to the these series organizers and these stewards indeed to have a discussion about what they see fit for the series. And I think, to be fair on them, they're a little more competent than I would be in that sense.
Oh yeah, I'd completely agree. I think the fixed set has been a real advantage of the series because a lot of these drivers, I think, I tell you what, we're getting quite a lot of side-by-side action here, so I'll shelve the conversation just for a second because leaving up the beak is up the inside of Ryan Walker, and I tell you what, look at the Flemish Simrasport cars, all on the outside of the corner as well, and even a their Quantum's Racing team car. Sorry, I got them mixed up with the Flemishes there. And the drivers all up and down the field are trying to make moves, aren't they? They're attempting to. I mean, even the Quantum guys, they're almost forming their own bubble of slipstream up on their outside of the track to try and give the overspeed on the outside. But again, they've had to duck back down. It's just not happening. And you know, they're trying everything. This pack. It's a lot longer now than the leading one. Which, by the way, Tim Perry is actually on the back of the leading pack, even though he's a lap down. I quite like that ambition. But look at this, Lucas De Velde is getting overtaken. He's a lap down, and everybody's going past him. Manolo Rock almost flying off there. He got caught by the wind, hit that wall, and almost got sucked into the Armco on the outside. Like I said before, it's just really hard, isn't it? You can't really. Everybody who tries to make something happen, whether it's on their own or with all three of the cars that are in your team, it just doesn't quite hit the money, does it? It's very difficult for these drivers out there.
It really is difficult. It's always the judgment game that's going on, and the risk assessment is such a big issue indeed to to address, and it's so difficult to do, and it all happens so quickly. You don't have that peripheral vision always to be able to actually make those calls, and I think many a time drivers in these oval series find themselves completely trusting of whatever spotter they're using, be that a program or a human spotter, because you basically have to, and I think even in real life you pretty much have to as well. We'll see here this mid bunch certainly heating up with the action here on lap 48.
Anton Japan expects drivers to be pitting in with lap 50 to 52. So we're not that far away from Anton Japan's prediction, and we're looking at the Frederick Van Etkoven in team down under colours, obviously following his two teammates in Kenzie Newhoff and Adam Wright. And like I said before, Hasse, I think Adam Wright is definitely taking one for the team here, because he's the one punching the hole in the air, isn't he, to try and get his drive.
Oh, we've had a problem, I'm afraid. Oh no, that's Kurt van Honager in the pits. I'm sorry.
But he did do it rather dramatically, so I can understand where you're coming from.
But anyway, but very much true. But it's just to touch upon the strategy from Team Down Under, which is, I'd say, radically different than everybody else's strategy. But and the main thing here is that where they were able to stretch it over 40 laps that first time around, but they did have 2 caution periods aiding and on, where I suppose they use much less fuel than you'll do for an entire green flag stint. And as such, it's not quite sure that they'll be actually able to make it around the 40 laps the second time around here, as we do see those predicted pit stops coming in here around lap 50 from those that have already been in. So the question now is that whether or not these Team Down Under cars will be able to run to the line or not, and if they will, they'll be in a really good position indeed. But all in all, I think it's still, if they have to take 2 stops, they'll lose out on the fact that they of course did take a pit stop under green flag conditions, whereas pretty much everyone else was in under that first caution period on lap 13 or thereabouts. As you can see the lap times, Jacko, I'm just gonna have a look at this because this is interesting stuff to see. The lap times that they're actually lapping really quickly indeed. The Down Under cars are lapping in 46.5, and that's a trio of them working in unison. That's half a second faster on the last lap alone than Sergio Hernandez here. That's quite incredible.
Yeah, they've had me right off, to be honest, because I said that they were going to be caught by this this pack, and it's absolutely not the case, is it? So, yeah, they're running quickly, but then again, these drivers have all got tyres that are 40-odd laps old, which is half the race, keep in mind. So as soon as they come in, as long as, I mean, yeah, the Team Down Under cars, they'll have the undercut. Maybe they'll be back in the race, but these cars will all start lapping half a second quicker than them in, 10, 15, 20 laps time. So it's going to be very interesting. Oh, we had another spinner of Vinales, I think that was. Maybe, no, I'm wrong. Sven Calvert.
Sven Calvert.
Sorry there, Vinales. Sven Calvert having a spin in as well. Not entirely sure why that's happening. That's 2 in a row we've seen.
Sven Calvert with a very dramatic entrance to the pit lane there. I'm trying to see if I can just get it back up. Here it is. Because we want to have a look at that one. I'm quite certain. You can see it's quite trafficated. He gets in a little hotter. It's the mystery machine ahead of it. Oh, look at Felipe! He flies it as well. And Sven Calvert. Well, that's an unwanted consequence to the act of having to do a pit stop up ahead. It's still Sergio Hernandez. He's still leading, and he's still doing a very good job of it. It has to be said. Lap 53, Anton Dupin calls the pit stop round of the leaders to be now on this very lap, which incidentally will mean they've done 40 laps of driving indeed. So we'll see if that's the case, or if they pull tricks on you, Anton. We'll have to see as they round the final corner. So it's just about now. If it has to be, it's now. And they actually do. Oh, what crystal ball of you about Anton Dupin. That's incredible indeed. And moves at least trying to be made here. Look at that. That's Kim Behay taking a position at least on the way into the pit lane on Sergio Hernandez, and then we'll have to see how it looks when they come back out. But Hernandez, is that speeding down there? That was looking a little strange to me, but we'll have to see once they come out. Seijas, Vinales, Osorio, and Ryan Walker keeps on running.
Yeah, the driver's taking tyres. This is going to be important. Where is the team down under machines? That's the question. Adam Wright, he's currently 15 seconds back. There we go. They passed the pit lane. So it's going to be, have they jumped a whole host of drivers? We'll have to wait for the timing towers to sort themselves out. We're on board with Adam Wright here. And it looks like Osorio, Vinales, and Seijas, the Ramones cars, have all now pitted. And I think Adam Wright and the team down unders have jumped to the likes of Sergio Hernandez. By how much? In fact, you can see on your screens, because that's Kimber Hayton, the Flemish car, who overtook Hernandez going into the pits. A little bit cheeky, I would say. They're still there, though, and these two will not be going as quickly as the next three. However, having said that, I was wrong the next time. The last time I said I made a proclamation like that, but they're not that far back, Hasse, but it is still substantial. However, in about 30 laps time, well, we won't have 30 laps, we've got 26 laps to go, but in about 20 laps time, there'll be a big speed difference between Sergio Hernandez and Frederick Van Ekhoven. It's just whether they can overtake them.
Yeah, indeed. What happened here, Johan Osorio? Was that just Johan leaving the pits? Yeah, indeed, that is the cloud of smoke that I saw before. So no need for alarm here. And now it's team down under, back on top, back in front. Indeed. 26 laps remaining of this race. And as such, it's all been very orderly for quite some time. It's a 4.7 second gap. There are now only two drivers alongside one another here. Kimber Hayton and Sergio Hernandez. It's just those two against the three ahead. And then it's 3.5 seconds down to Ari Seijas, who is losing out a lot of time on the cars ahead here. And I'm just wondering why here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The pack really gapped themselves, didn't they? And to be honest, the Ramones didn't come in. And now, all of a sudden, the Ramones are very spaced apart. You got Ari Seijas here. You've got Johan Osorio. Well, Seijas is in 6th. Osorio's in 9th. And then I'm looking for the last one. Where is Vinales? I can't actually see. Why can't I see? Oh, no. Vinales, sorry, is in 8th place. So it's Seijas 6th. Toby Ward in the boosted car in 7th. 8th is Vinales, and 9th is Johan Osorio. So they have been split up a touch, but Ari Seijas is now being caught by these drivers, some of which I think haven't taken all their pit stops.
We'll just have to assume that the down under strategy is going to be working efficiently for them, because they've all stuck to it, and they've all...
They'll be the only drivers that have only pitted once as well, Hasse.
Exactly.
They're the only drivers out there.
They've put their eggs in one basket indeed. And they're really, I think, expecting it to work out for them, and we'll see whether it does so as they come around to the line in 23 laps time. But right now it's looking very, very good indeed. And I think Yves Fredericks has been in for a pit stop and has come back out a lap down, I'm afraid. So that's suboptimal for Yves, who was sitting nicely in behind these three, taking advantage of the slipstream. See further down, there's more and more spread happening on the field here. The gap down to Kimber Hayton is now almost 6 seconds. And that is the gap they're up on these two. Then behind these two, it's a further 5 seconds down to a pack of 4 cars. That's Ari Seijas, Toby Ward, Johan Osorio, and Lopez Vinales. As you can see here, it's actually a 5-car pack because Jürgen van der Perre is in there as well, but he is a lap down, I believe. And then further down, there is a big pack indeed here, and this is where the action seems to be going on at the moment there, with a lot of action and a lot of movement on the outside. The Simracersworld esports machines all trying to move through, with Tim Perry trying to get out the way there, I think. And a 3-car move there, but the first just squeezing in on top of Ryan Walker. Ryan Walker will be saying, "Oh, please, God, no, not me. Just let me finish a race." Because he's been so unlucky.
He's always getting a bit beaten up, isn't he, Ryan Walker? It's, whenever we cut to a replay, it tends to be him. And look at this, the SRW machines are trying to work together as well at the head of this pack. But, I mean, these guys in this pack, they're moving around, aren't they? A lot more on the tyre wall. They're sort of coming in and out, up and down of the circuit and sort of breaking that a little bit. So it's clearly quite difficult to stay in this little bubble. As you can imagine, it's quite slippery to stay in the slipstream. You know, you'd have a lot more downforce, essentially, aerodynamics, even though these cars are really not aerodynamically designed. Just look at the speed here that Ryan Walker's got. Does he try and make the move? No, because he can't. Because he knows as soon as he comes out, he's hit with a brick wall of air. And that's a pretty good on board to show you just how brutal it can be when you've got the overspeed. You think, oh, I can do this, that's absolutely fine. And then all of a sudden, you realise you can't. You have to come off the throttle, all that hard work's gone.
Indeed, it's what we've seen on several occasions here now. 20 laps remaining, and it's all in a state of status quo at the moment. And it's being played on strategy, much more so than we've seen before. We've seen races done on strategy, but this has seemed to be a very, very thought-out gamble from Team Down Under, if they're going to see if it's going to work. And it might just, because, mind you, they were in on lap, what, 43, I think? Oh, no, they were not. They were in on lap 38. So my bad there. They would have to do 43 laps, and that's, of course, taking into consideration that we did have 2 caution periods early in the race. So, yeah, it you know, might not look all that great for Team Down Under. We'll have to see. It's going to be tears of joy or tears of disappointment come the checkered flag.
Well, one thing we haven't mentioned that much, which is a little bit surprising considering this is a finale, is there is championships to be won tonight. And, yeah, we mentioned it a lot at the start, but looking at my sort of maths, this is a very, very rough estimation because it does depend on whether you have incident points. I think if you don't have any incident points, you get an extra point if you get fastest lap and pole position, all that sort of thing. However, very, very briefly, I think Kenzie Newhoff, if it ended like this, ended right now, we did the last 18 laps of the caution period, and Kenzie Newhoff would have about 295 points, because he would get about 42 points, so he would be on 294, I think. Sergio Hernandez all the way down in 5th, he'd get about 30 points handed to him, which means he'd be on 307. So at the moment, as it stands, even if Team Down Under did win, Frederick Van Ekhoven, Kenzie Newhoff were in the top 3 and Hernandez wasn't. He was in 5th or 4th. It wouldn't matter for championship-wise. I think Sergio Hernandez would still take the crown, and that's sort of echoing what I said earlier on in the race as well, that basically, as long as Hernandez keeps in the top 5, he's pretty much good to go, pretty much good to celebrate another championship and a defense of his previous one as well, back-to-back on the SRW NASCAR for Hernandez potentially. So yeah, that's where we at championship wise. Yoan Assario, unfortunately, all the way down in 8th place, doesn't really come into the equation anymore. Even though he did so well at the beginning of the season, he was so consistent. The drop rounds meant that basically Hernandez has been gifted a get out of jail free car for the 2 rounds that he had that were pretty poor, and that's why he's top of the championship.
Yeah, indeed. Just wondering, it says Stuart Musselwhite was out. He's back in, so that's great news for the 18s. We're going to go back to live pictures again. Matty Sufi, Bud Boland, and company here. They're sitting in places 10, 11, 12, and then the row follows down through 18th place, and Tim Perry. We've got Lucas de Belder hanging on as well.
Anton Japan, I don't know if you've covered this, sorry, Hasse, while I was just doing my mental calculations, but Anton thinks that they'll have to, the Team Down Under cars will have to pit in. He doesn't think they'll get there without a pit stop, and well, there's only 15 laps to go, and it's hard for us to tell, isn't it? Because we don't know whether people came in at a certain time for fuel and fuel alone, or whether they came in for tyres as well, or whether they just fitted into their strategy. It's a little bit difficult for us to call out. So Anton Dupin, Pack 3 will catch Behait, and Anton's coming in with all these proclamations, all these predictions here. That I'm just not sure if where he's pulling them out from, but I'm going to trust him because his calls have been more correct than mine have tonight and throughout the rest of the season as well. So there we go, Anton Dupin. We should just get you in the comms box, mate, and just get you predicting what's going to happen.
You make a brilliant punt indeed with that base of knowledge. But indeed, it does look like they're closing in and rather rapidly. Looking at the lap times, 0.3 of a second over the last lap. That's going to make that 2-second gap disappear rather quickly indeed. And the gap from Behait to the down under cars up ahead is now up to almost 11 seconds as well. So that's rather massive. And oh, Dupin's in the session spotting for Kim Behait. So you do have sort of a crystal ball, you could say.
It's no excuse. You should be in here with us punditing. Kim can do it on his own. It's fine.
Yeah, very much so. Here is that 4-5-man bunch. It is 5 with Van der Perre on the back, but he's a lap down. So for position is these 4 drivers. Sejas, it's Toby Ward, it's Osorio and Vignal. So it's 3 teammates in a boosted car. They're in the middle of it. The 66 machine, but 3 of the Ramones all here together and trying and making up space at the moment. And then looking at the, I'm just gonna look through on the points, because even what about that 25-point advantage of, well, he would need to finish quite far down the order. I'm of course talking about Sergio Hernandez, but in terms of points, Jacko, he would need to finish quite far down the order, I think, out of the top 10 indeed, if he indeed wasn't to win the championship.
Well, I think one thing is pretty much guaranteed here, I would say. I'm making a proclamation now, Anton, and saying that Adam Wright is not going to win this race. He's leading the way for his team. He's doing the team thing. He's going to jump out the way right at the last minute, I reckon, to let Kenzie Nieuwhof or Frederick Van Etkoven take the victory. It's probably going to be Kenzie because he's got that slight advantage of the 1 point. That's what I would predict if I was Team Down Under. I know I've said it before on many broadcasts that I hate Team Orders. But at the end of the day, if you want one of your teammates to win, that's the sort of thing you've got to do, especially with a team game like NASCAR is. And Hernandez, that means that Kenzie Nieuwhof will probably get about 40 points, 40 to 43 points. And that means Hernandez probably win. If he finished behind Ali Sejas or Toby Ward, who have now caught up, and hello, Ali Sejas going past potentially the championship winner. He's not only going past him, he's potentially going past... Oh no, he's into the wall! A big hit was that from Hernandez, because that's going to be big drama here. Right to the end, 11 laps to go, and it's a big incident. No caution period. However, Sejas was trying to get past Hernandez and he's shut the door. We didn't see it from the outside. It was a big claim to make that was Hernandez actually hitting him. But to be honest, I wouldn't have seen the other Ramones cars hitting him. So let's have a look at it.
Let's see. Oh
no, it's Toby Ward.
Toby Ward. That's major damage to the car of Toby Ward, I'm afraid. In that situation, that was rather hectic, shall we say. Let's see if we can get another look at it here. I'll be ready to slow it down. There's a bit of a slide from Sejas. There's the contact. And there's the slam of the wall. And look at Osorio, just about manages to dive down. And luckily enough, nobody else is caught up in this one, but it's gonna all go the way of Sergio Hernandez here, I'm afraid, or another that I'm afraid in that sense, but there was a lot of challenge incoming, and now it's just these 3 catching 3. Oh, and they're pitting in! 9 laps to go, Adam Wright, the down under cars, they couldn't make it last, they're all into the pits together, and I think this will decide it, because all of a sudden Flemish Sim Sports and Kim Behait is in the lead of affairs.
Yeah, all those predictions, all those mental calculations about Kenzie Nieuwhof winning the race, Adam Wright jumping out of the way, they're mute because Anton Tapan was right. I was expecting them potentially to try and eke it all the way, but Anton was correct. And it is Kim Behate and his pack with Sergio Hernandez and now Johan Osorio in there as well. This is Kurt Van Honecker. What's happened to him on the inside on one of the DYNAMIXX machines? In fact, two of the DYNAMIXX machines. As he's tucked up to the white, to the yellow, and well, we're not entirely sure what happened there, but we do know something for sure, and that's that Kim Behate is leading this race from Johan Osorio and Sergio Hernandez. And I think, even though the team down under cards are really nowhere now, I would still probably, if I was Hernandez, be quite thankful for the fact that the Ramones car weren't flying past them, because obviously one of them was Johan Osorio, who is again a championship contender. So it's fortunate for him the way that he didn't get caught up in that action.
Yeah, very much so, and it's oh well, rather disappointing, it has to be said. Look at this, as the down under cars are exiting the pits and back on track now. 8 laps of running left, and who's going to take the win here? I don't think Hernandez is going to be minding the win too much. I think he'd be happy with 3rd place indeed. Here is Tim Perry on the outside, is trying to make up gains as the Simracersworld esports lead to the 2nd bunch now being challenged. They've been pushed to the high side, and there's no getting back there. It's all squeezed in, and they'll be shuffled to the back of this bunch. And if that's their luck, that is bad luck indeed. We'll just see how it goes. There's tight racing here. We're on to 7 laps to go. That'll be 6 very shortly indeed. As Vinyals is also a part of this one now, alongside his teammates as well, I would believe. Hasse has, of course, a long way down, and actually that's completely wrong, because Johan Osorio is up ahead in this 3-way fight. But that's becoming a 2-way fight here, as Osorio is becoming separated ever so slightly from the 2 cars up ahead.
Well, you know what the biggest tragedy of all that, though, is the fact that Toby Ward is the 4th in this battle. He's actually a lap down. So he obviously, I mean, he didn't instigate the incident without Hasse, but he certainly, well, he was a lap down. Let's put it that way. So make of that as you will. I'm sure Hasse probably isn't particularly pleased with the fact that a back marker was there to cause the incident. But at the end of the day, Hasse he had a twitch, he had a slide. So whether it was Toby Ward or whether it was another car, he's probably ended up making contact. If it wasn't a car, it probably would have been balls. So, you know, make of that as you will in the chat. But that's the fact. Toby Ward is actually a back marker here. So it's only really these 3 that are in contention. You're looking at your podium, essentially.
Indeed. So it looks. Johan Osorio's back up to the rear end of Sergio Hernandez. I think they're both able to outpace Kim Behate if they were ahead, but they aren't. And that's the thing here. 5 laps to go. It's going to be the last 5 laps of this season of SRW DYNAMIXX NASCAR Racing. And it's looking sweet indeed for Sergio Hernandez to take his 2nd title on the trot of this series. And look at this. Behate goes a little bit wide, and Hernandez is looking for it up the inside. Can he get a squeeze in? Almost contact. Almost contact. That's very close indeed. Oh my word. And I think Hernandez is squeezing in to not only take the championship win, but the race win as well. Oh! Almost contact. Getting so close to one another in that situation I've hardly seen. Oh, and look at this Behate. Behate on the outside now, trying to take advantage.
Hernandez trying to take his championship in style here tonight with a race victory. With 4 laps to go, he's gone to the lead of this 3. Johan Osorio wasn't close enough to take any kind of advantage, but he may well be sniffing around right at the end. I'm sure Behate will be keen to try and get that victory. And I tell you what, if ever there was an advert for having a spotter, it was right then, because I'm sure Anton Tapan, we've been talking a lot to him in the chat. He's probably sat with Kim Behate saying, he's there, there's not enough room, don't come back across. Whereas if he didn't add that spotter, we may have seen a huge wreck for the top 2 here, which would have been disastrous for Hernandez. I'd say that was pretty risky going for the race victory here, as Tim Perry now jumps into the pits.
That is an abysmal time to have to take a pit stop here. 3 laps to go, and it's all coming back together, it seems. Look at this. The gaps are closing in, and there's a bunch of cars that are leading in and coming up on the leaders now. They're just a second back. They're running up so quickly indeed. And I don't know where this pace different. Where does it come from? Bob Boland absolutely flying with a bunch of his back here, and all of a sudden, the results could be thrown up in the air. Oh my word. It's been a little bit of a dull show, I have to say, but with the way it's all coming back together here at the end, it just could kick off in a way that we haven't yet seen this season, which would be amazing. Here goes Ryan Walker, who is, I'm afraid, who's not a lap down. This is for 4th place. Ryan Walker up the inside of the SRW Esports car. He's getting mashed down there, and then he's trying to get there as well. Oh, he's on the inside, and it's looking good for Ryan Walker in the 555.
Tell you what, my heart rate is higher than Hasse's voice right now, and it's really because these cars are chasing them down. There's a little bit more of a gap, and I tell you what, Toby Ward needs to keep his eye out as well. They're going 2x2. We've finally seen these cars race 2x2 tonight. It's been a long time coming, but this is exactly what we saw earlier on. A huge slide there by the DYNAMIXX car of Ryan. Sorry, it's not a DYNAMIXX car of Ryan Walker, but there's more contact between Ryan Walker and the SRW car. I can't quite see where it is, but Bradford Oliphant was a DYNAMIXX car who had a bit of a slide earlier on. These guys really need to focus. They all want to be the car. Vinales has gone off and he's come back on the apron. They really want to be the cars that's trying to chase down the top 3. But we're on the final lap, boys. You need to concentrate and make it happen if you're going to do it anytime. Now is the time. Kimberhate hunkered up behind the champion-elect, Sergio Hernandez. He's looking in on the outside. Johan Asario's there as well. And Toby Ward, as I said before, is a back marker, needs to slightly get out of the way. But Kimberhate's got the overspeed. He's gone past. And we are now 1 and 2. Behate, followed by Hernandez, and then everybody else queuing up to try and take 3rd place. Johan Asario's dropping back through the pile. It's not going to be his day. He's now in a 3-wide battle as the checkered flag comes up. It'll be Kimberhate, and there's a huge wreck. But Kimberhate takes the checkered flag, but more importantly, Hernandez takes the championship.
Very much so. Our championship for a 2nd consecutive season is indeed Sergio Hernandez, race winner for Flemish Sim Sports in the 86 car. Kimberhate, the big pack coming back at the very final laps of the race, and that came back together with excitement in a way that I have yet to see from a motor race. That was like watching cycling, and it was all the best parts of a sprint stage indeed. Breakaways, coming back, a sprint to the line, and drama and action that just built up over the course of the race to really, really have a peak at the end of affairs here. And what a finale, what a treat we've been served for here, Jacko.
I mean, I apologise for anybody who is wearing headphones, or if I have broken your speakers, I do apologise. I don't normally get that loud, but to be honest, how can you blame us with an action like that as Hernandez decides to do the donuts because he's taken that championship? And just like you said, Hasse, not only did we have a relatively clean race, I'd say a very clean race in NASCAR terms, but we had a fantastic battle in the last 3 laps, an entire season, and it all went down to 90 seconds worth of racing. Fantastic. Take us through the rundown.
Kimberhate takes the win at our 2nd visit of the season at Daytona, ahead of newly crowned champion Sergio Hernandez. Bart Boland in the 26 grabs 3rd at the end of affairs, ahead of Bram van Uyften and Matty Sufi. Hendrik de Graave in 6th place, and then Johan Osorio. Mind you, he was 3rd coming on to the final lap. He ends up 7th there. Huge wreck, by the way, coming up to the line. That was a big one indeed. Bart de Vos gets 8th place in the number 6 car, ahead of Lieven Up the Beek and John Tusting. Ryan Walker 11th in the end, ahead of Lopez Vinales. Adam Wright, Freddie Van Eckhoven and Kenzie Newhoff. Then it's Manolo Rock, Paul Gosling and Sven Calbert in 18th place in the end. Scrolling down the results list, we get to Kurt van Honacker for KV Racing, of course, in 20th. Of course, right before him, that was Stephen de Wolf in 19th. Tim Perry for Boosted, ahead of teammate Toby Ward, John Barnes, Lucas Abelder, Eve Fredericks, Stuart Musselwhite, and Ari Sehes. 28th was the mystery machine of Jürgen van der Perre, and Philip Russell, Thijs van den Berge, the 2 unluckiest of souls this race, not seeing the end of the race. But what a show in the end there. That was breathtaking stuff there.
I'm not over it. I'm genuinely not over it. I need a drink. I need a stiff drink at that as well. I'm sure a lot of these guys will as well. And like I said, their heart rates My heart rate's going. How on earth they actually kept that composure right at the end for Haight and Hernandez after that commotion was going on behind. I think everybody catching that pack that caught Hernandez and Behait. I think they got overexcited, didn't they? I think they were all trying desperately to be the person to take the fight to them. That ended up actually none of them could quite make it. And yeah, Kim Behait as well. With Anton's come on as well, who's been an extremely useful resource, not only tonight, but over the entire series. He came on and said Kim Behait actually had less than 1 litre of fuel left. And, well, I don't know how many litres these guys use in a lap, but I can't imagine it's that low. So it's, you know, astounding that these guys managed to think that far ahead and get the strategy to be able to take that victory.
Indeed, and what a win in the end as well for Kim Behait. Strong performance. Great to see. And Flemish getting there as the wreck in the end. As Behait takes the checkered flag. Hernandez takes it as well in second place. Of course, more than enough for him to be crowned champion. And we're waiting for anybody to come in and have a bit of a chat with us, if anybody so desires. And as I say that, we have our race winner here to have a chat with Jacko. Of course, it is Kim Behait.
Kim, if you can, well, one, congratulations. I almost forgot to congratulate on you on the victory there. We got so caught up with everything that happened. But if you can, try and describe what those last 3 laps were like from your perspective as well, because you got overtaken by Hernandez, and then obviously you had to try and fight back on a track and in a race that has been shown to be an extremely difficult task to overtake someone. What was your thought process going into those final 3 laps?
Hi guys, good evening. Yeah, it was a thriller. Really a thriller. I finished literally on fumes. At the end there, I was watching the fuel drip down and decided to try and let Sergio go by, and so I can slot in behind and save a little bit more fuel. But I wanted to try and do it without losing out too much. So that's what I tried, and luckily it worked. So my plan was to stay behind Sergio and then the last lap try and pass him again. But then we had kind of a squabble and lost a lot on the big pack that was catching us. So then my second concern was to be able to block them off, or to at least break them a little bit and be able to stay in front, Sergio and I. So it was 2 concerns, them and my fuel, and then at the end, luckily it worked out.
I was going to say, to be fair, I don't think we gave you enough credit then in the commentary booth, because we thought you just made a mistake and Sergio went up your inside. But by the sounds of it, it was all worked out to a T. So congratulations on that one. Well, I mean, there's an awful lot to get through and process with that race. But I'm guessing you knew full well that after you made your final pit stop, you knew that the team down under boys were going to have to make another pit stop. Was that all in the plan? You didn't feel any threat from then going towards the end of the race?
Well, it was the plan. I focused on covering Sergio, and then was hoping there wouldn't be any yellows, so the down under boys would have to pit again. Luckily, that was the case, so we were able to cover them off. And get to the position where we finished.
Well, you drove fantastically, Kim. Congratulations. And before we let you go, because we've got a fair few things to be getting through, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before you go away and enjoy the fact that you've won the final race of Season 2 in the SRW NASCAR Series?
Yeah, sure. Especially the guys who organized this, Ian and Bram. It's a fantastic series, and it's grown into and keeps on growing into a great series. I'm really looking forward to Season 3. You guys for the broadcast. It's always a pleasure to watch the races afterwards. And then also Anton for giving us the crew chief info during the race and spotting for us. So thanks to him as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Kim. And we echo the sentiments to Anton, because he was basically doing the same job for us as well, which is quite nice. So thank you very much, Kim, and congrats on that victory.
Guys, good night.
So that was Kim Behait having a chat with Thiago, of course, race winner for tonight. And now another winner It's rarely the guy in second who's actually a winner, but tonight, Sergio, second place more than enough to take your second consecutive title of the series, and it all came together in the end, but it was very, very close indeed. How did that race feel in general from your perspective?
Hello, thank you very much. I don't know. The car and the behavior of the car has changed a lot with the new aero and the new season. I didn't have enough time to practice, so well, I came here to see what is going to be, and well, I don't know. It's has been a very quiet race, doing laps and laps and laps, and in one line only. I don't know. I feel like I've been only doing. I feel like I've been only doing laps and laps and not a race with no one. I think I didn't push any lap to any car. I don't know. It's not the typical race I had in mind, but well, I finished second. Congrats to the team who has done a very good job in the last lap with the side draft, and well, I have the champ. It's important here.
And talk us through it. It was 2 shaky rounds on your part earlier in the season, but from there on, Sergio, it's been faultless on your part, and I take it that it's gone both as you hoped, and maybe did you plan for this type of season as well? I guess you did, given that it ended up this way, but you must be satisfied in the end.
Yeah, after these 2 bad races, I have to make a decision and think about going, not being too risky, trying to make good decisions, clean decisions, and not being involved in accidents. And well, I think this is the way that I drive after these races. And well, I didn't thought it was going to be as good as it was after these races. But well, finally, all good.
Well, Sergio, congratulations on your second SRW DYNAMIXX NASCAR Series title. It was well-deserved indeed, beautiful all the way through. So a big congratulations from us. And before we let you go off and celebrate the title, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Yeah, of course, as always, to the organization and to you for being all the races here. To all the viewers who are going and seeing all the races, and to the pilots who has been a very good improvement this season from all the pilots, much better races, much better battles, so I'm very happy with the champ we had. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'm going to celebrate it.
Well, indeed, and thank you for joining us. Thanks for all the racing throughout the season, Sergio, and hope to see you back in Season 3, man.
I hope.
Well, so do we. So that was our champion, Sergio Hernandez, and we'll go on. Jacko is going to have a word with someone who was close in the championship fight, but it didn't quite work out. It is, of course, Fredrik Fenekhoven, as I said, having a word with Jacko.
Apologies, I'll mute there again. Hi, Fredrik. Thanks very much for jumping into the comms box. It wasn't... You've had a lot of good days with Team Down Under as a team, haven't you? And you tried to play that as a team game, but it just wasn't to be tonight.
No, we got some bad luck. At the first caution, we decided to go for track position, which worked out pretty fine. We had the track position, but then we didn't have enough fuel, so... we were praying for a caution. We only needed 1 caution, and then everything would have been fine. But yeah, it didn't came, so yeah, we had to
it's
do
amazing,
2
isn't it? Amazing, isn't it? Really, because I mean, throw it back to the beginning of this season or last season, you probably would have guaranteed yourself a caution period there, but it just wasn't to be. This season has been much improved in that way, hasn't it?
Yes, exactly, and also like how the new aero works on super speedways. It's very new to everyone, So yeah, really props to everyone for driving so clean, because it's really not easy. If you're getting pushed, it's like suddenly you're on tiny little skip arbor wheels.
Well, I was going to ask. We were looking at it and obviously trying to sort of second guess what maybe the difference in the new physics engine was going to be like and all that sort of thing. It was quite clear that it was difficult to overtake, wasn't it? As soon as you came out of the slipstream with the other car, you'd really end up slowing down. So, unlike the Daytona round that we had a couple of weeks ago, you couldn't go 2x2 for very long, could you?
No, indeed. Also with the side rev. That's also the main reason why we went for the team game. So we were all bunched up, the three of us together from Team Down Under. And yeah, unfortunately it didn't play out, but you could see on the lap times and so on that yeah, the teamwork is really important.
It absolutely is, and unfortunately your teammate Kenzie Newhoff hasn't come in for a chat with us, to be honest, because I think you guys were about as close as each other. I think you probably pretty much drew on points, obviously for second place. So it must be a bit gutting that you obviously didn't get the championship all in all. But from a team's perspective, you guys absolutely smashed it, didn't you, really? And yeah, that must make you pretty pleased to be doing it with your friends.
Yeah, although it's a bit of sour taste, or how do you say it in English?
Yeah, like because, that basically.
Yeah, Kenzie really started off the season badly. He had 3 bad rounds in the first 4 rounds, and I just end the season with 3 bad rounds in the end. So it's a bit unfortunate that we have those mistakes. Let's try to eliminate them the next time, and we can be hopefully at the front then in the championship standings.
Well, can we expect you then back for season 3? Is that a hint that you're going to return?
Yeah, well, if it starts after the summer, as the rumors are, then yeah, I might be back. Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. And what about we've got a couple of special events here on SRW: Charlotte 600, Daytona 500. What are your thoughts going into them? Are you going to be bringing the team down under noise with you to the super speedways again?
I'm not gonna race them. For me, anything above 2 hours is just too long.
Fair enough. Can't blame you on that one. Well, Frederick, thank you very much for coming in to having a chat with us. Congratulations on second place in the championship. I know it doesn't sound that fantastic, but it's still a big achievement, I would say. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Team Down Under. We had a great teamwork going this season. And then, yeah, of course, everybody involved in the organization, and you guys for broadcasting. It was a fun season. Also, all the drivers. We had some squirrely rounds, to say it like that. But in the end, I think everybody improved, and we all learned a lot. And I think the next season is going to be a great one.
It certainly is. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Frederick. We'll let you go, and good luck for season 3 and any other competitions that you're racing in throughout the year as well.
Thank you.
So indeed, that was Frederick van Eekhoven after a long championship fight, going all the way to the line, but not quite working out for Team Down Under. Well, that I think takes us to the end of the broadcast as well. But thank you so much for joining us here on our final stream of the season. It saddens me to say, it has to be said, but indeed, it is the realities that we're working with. A word of thanks to DYNAMIXX Race Simulators for sponsoring the series and standing with us and making this whole debacle possible in the first place. Thanks to you, Jacko, for being able to sit here Monday after Monday, actually able to stand me, or at least giving people the impression that you can stand me, which I think is very nice of you. And thanks to all of you people who've been tuning in with us out there. We truly, truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you've liked this season's racing, you can leave us a like on the video to let us know. And if you haven't already, and you want to see more here on SRW TV, do hop in and subscribe as well. With that said, Jacko, is there anything you'd like to add to the end of the season here?
It's been fast, it's been frantic, and what a way to end it, really, Hasse. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you NASCAR. I didn't think I'd ever say it, but I've actually genuinely looked forward to NASCAR racing every Monday night here. It's been absolutely awesome. Thank you to all the drivers who have made it that way. And I very much look forward to season 3. Hopefully, I'm back in the comments box, and I'm very much hoping that I'm back with you, Hasse, as well. Fingers crossed, and good luck to all the drivers for whatever they get up to. We'll be back with a couple of NASCAR-wise, the Charlotte 600 and Daytona 500 as well. So keep it pinned to SRW, and it's a goodbye from me.
Well, with that said, thank you so much for joining us here on the last, at least for this time around, Monday night. But we'll be back for much else here on SRW TV in the near future. And until then, everyone, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.